As an author, you've just been interviewed about your beautiful book. Now what? If you'd like to get as many people as possible to listen to your interview, leave a lasting impression with the interviewer, and use it as leverage for future interviews, then this video is for you. We're going to look at what we should do immediately after the interview was recorded and what we should do right after our interview goes live to truly make the absolute most of this opportunity. Hi there, I'm Eevi, an award-winning children's author and ghostwriter over on eevijones.com and the creator of Children's Book University. I create videos specifically for children's authors, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my weekly videos. This is the fourth and final part of my media interview series for authors. In the previous parts, I shared how to pick the right media outlets, how to reach out and secure an interview, and how and what to prepare to make our interview an absolute success. I've added the links to all the other parts in the description below, along with a link to a set of printable checklists, outreach sample scripts you can use, and a list of frequently asked author questions, all in the description below. Now, a quick side note here that I wanted to share is that while this particular series was mainly about podcasts, how to find the best podcasts to appear on and how to reach out to them and prepare for them, everything I have shared in this series can be applied to all sorts of interviews, be it on local radio stations, local TV stations, and even interviews on a blog. So when watching videos like this, we'll always want to ask ourselves, how can I apply this? How can I tweak this? And how can I make this relevant to my own situation and to my own book? That's how we get our creativity going. So let's dive right in. Whenever we are being interviewed about our beautiful children's book, we get incredibly excited, right? And we absolutely should, because we've worked so hard to write our book, secure these interviews, and then prepare for and go on these interviews. So the question then is this: once we are done with the interview, what's next? What can we as the podcast guest do to truly make the most out of this experience? Besides us being excited about our interview, we often don't take as much advantage of these beautiful opportunities as we should or could. Because what we often forget is that the more we share things like our interviews, the more people around us will become aware of our beautiful children's book. So once an interview goes live, instead of sitting back and thinking our work is done, that's when we want to step up our game. So let's look at what we should do immediately after the interview was recorded and what we should do right after our interview goes live to truly make the absolute most of this opportunity. Number one of what we should do immediately after the interview was recorded is to make sure to thank the host for this opportunity to appear on their podcast. We might also want to tell them how we are going to promote and share this episode once it goes live. A wonderful way to show our appreciation would be to ask about the host's current major undertakings and how we could perhaps help and support them. They might, for example, be looking to book more children's authors like yourself, and so we could help them connect with fellow authors. Or perhaps they are trying to get more reviews for their podcast over on iTunes. These are really simple ways how we as the guest could help and support the host. And once we have offered our support, we can also let the host know that we are looking for more interview opportunities. If the host liked our interview, they might be willing to suggest other podcasts that might be a great fit, and perhaps even offer to make an introduction. My first ninja tip here would be this. Believe it or not, but journalists, interviewers, editors, and contributors don't often receive thank yous from people they have featured, whether that's on their podcasts, their shows, or in their articles. So be the one that stands out in a good way and reach out to express your appreciation. They'll remember you for it. Plus, it's the right thing to do. We can do so right after the interview, and then again via a note that we either send with the regular mail if we have the host's physical address, or via an email. Here we could write something really simple yet thoughtful like this. Hi, name of the host. Thanks again for the opportunity to be on your podcast. It was such a wonderful experience. I really loved getting to know you better and connecting with your audience. And then your name. And if we really want to go the extra mile, we can even send a thoughtful gift. After my interview on Entrepreneur on Fire, for example, I sent a handwritten note along with these personalized M&Ms to the host that showed the logo of the podcast. I thought that was such a fun idea and the host really loved it. Now, what should we do once our interview goes live? The reason why there is a difference between what to do after our interview was just recorded and when it actually goes live is because depending on the podcast, it may take a couple of weeks for the host to edit the show and then have it go live. For bigger podcasts, for example, it may take a few months even for our episode to be scheduled to go live. So, number 2 of what we should do once our interview goes live is to actually share it. So many believe that once the interview is done, that they are done as well. But while the host is sharing our new episode with their audience, we want to do our part as well. And so as a guest of any show, it's our job to send some eyeballs its way. Something that really helps with the sharing on social media is if we share it in an interesting and enticing way so people get curious and actually want to click that link to listen to our interview. We can share our interview anywhere, be it on Instagram story, on Facebook amongst our family and friends, our website, and in our emails, for example. And so to make our post more interesting, we can create an image like this one right here. This is the image I created over on Canva, and I shared it after my dream interview with the entrepreneurial podcast with Pat Flynn went live. I shared this with quite a long and heartfelt note because I wanted my friends and family to know that this interview meant a great deal to me. Oftentimes, those that are closest to us and whom we value the most aren't aware how important these author-related milestones are and how much they mean to us. And that's mainly because they aren't authors and because we never really tell them, right? So when we're sharing our interview, we'll want to make sure we let our loved ones know what this means to us and how excited we are about it, because if they understand that this is important to you, then it'll be important to them as well. And if they see we're excited about it, they too will get excited about listening to our interview. Now, the reason why we should share it with whomever is willing to listen is threefold. Number 1, because this really is a milestone that you have reached. So you should feel so incredibly proud of the fact that you have appeared on someone's podcast. Number 2, because we want to make sure as many people as possible are going to listen to our interview. And number 3, because we want to make sure that if we were to approach this podcast host again in the future, they are willing to interview us again because they know we are going to send an incredible amount of eyeballs their way. A podcast host is much more likely to bring us back on or recommend us to other hosts if they know we are going to share and are going to send some listeners their way. They gave us the opportunity to share our thoughts and ideas on their platform, right? So we want to make sure we pay it forward by thanking them for the opportunity and by sharing it widely. And a little extra bonus here is if we remember to tag and thank the podcast host directly in our social media share as well. That is, of course, in addition to our thank you note or email you already sent right after the interview. Number 3 of what we should do once our interview goes live is to thank the people who helped us along the way of publishing our beautiful children's book. And other contributing parties might be people like our illustrator and our editor. So when we are posting and sharing about our interview, we want to make sure we tag them. But just as I mentioned in my social media for authors series, whenever we are tagging someone in our posts, we'll want to make sure we are also mentioning the person by name in our post along with a sentence or two as to why we are mentioning them or tagging them. So for example, if we are tagging a coach or a mentor, we could say something really simple like this. I couldn't have put my book together without, and then enter the name of the person you want to tag or thank. Mass tagging is never okay, so we'll always want to make sure to state why we're tagging this person. And so by expressing our gratitude that way, it is also much more likely that the tagged person shares our post as well, because who doesn't like to be thanked and acknowledged like this, right? On the other hand, if we simply mass tag someone, it's very likely that they will simply remove their tag, which is something I started doing as well because so many tagged me in all their posts without providing a reason as to why they tagged me in the first place. And so if we are tagging people in a respectful and thoughtful way, this can actually do 2 things for us. 1, it can help us strengthen our relationship with those that have helped us along the way. And 2, it might help us increase the number of downloads of our episode because the tagged person might listen to the episode and because they might end up sharing our post with their community as well. Number 4 of what we should do once our interview goes live is to add our interview to our media page on our website if you have one. Like I have done right here, where I'm listing all my major media appearances on my media page. And depending on how big and widely known the podcast is, we can also add the logo as a credibility marker to our website as well. And if you don't have a website, don't worry. I have a whole separate video on how to get an author website absolutely free without any monthly fees. So I will make sure to link to it in the description below. Number 5 of what we should do once our interview goes live is that when approaching and reaching out to other podcast hosts, we will want to make sure to mention the podcasts we have already appeared on by weaving it into our outreach message. We can do so in a more general way, or if the podcast is a well-known one, we can get specific as well and mention the actual name of the podcast. So for a more general approach, we could write something like this in our outreach message. I've been interviewed on a number of podcasts speaking mainly about the importance of XYZ. And if we want to be more specific, we could include something like this in our outreach message. I have appeared on a number of podcasts, including then the name of the specific podcast where I talked about the importance of XYZ. This can be really helpful, especially if the podcast host does not know us. And finally, number 6 of what we should do once our interview goes live is something we absolutely want to do, especially if this is one of our first interviews. And that's to take the time to listen to our episode. And the reason we'll want to do so is to see what went well and what we could improve and tweak. So we'll especially want to look at things like the conciseness of our responses to the host's questions, the way we give our responses, for example, what tone we were using or how often we used filler words, and how is the overall flow of the interview? Does it feel like we were connecting with the host? And if we were asked questions we did not anticipate, we'll also want to make sure we add them to our list of previously prepared questions that I talked about in one of the previous videos in this series. That way we can optimize our response to this question and are more prepared next time. Now, one of my main ninja tips I really wanted to make sure I share here is this. We don't have to wait until our book is published in order to reach out to and appear on a podcast. In fact, I went onto one of the biggest podcasts within the independent publishing world even before I published my book, How to Self-Publish a Children's Book, and even before I launched Children's Book University. Sometimes podcasts are booked out months in advance, so preparing and starting our search early is important. At the same time, know that it's never too late. So even if our book was published quite some time ago, people will still want to learn about it, especially if we frame it in such a way that is relevant to them. And I hope I was able to show you how to do just that with the previous parts of this series. So if you haven't watched those, I have added them to the description below. If you're looking for even more media tips and tricks specifically for us authors, I made a whole separate video on how to take our media appearances even further and how to get the most out of every single media appearance. So make sure to watch this video on media tips and tricks for authors as well. I've added the link to it in the description below. And as promised, I wanted to create and share something with you that will hopefully help you even more with your current and future author interviews. It's a set of printable checklists, outreach sample scripts you can use, a tracking sheet, and a list of frequently asked author interview questions. You can find the link to it in the description below. It includes everything you'll need for your before, during, and after interview preparations so that you can make the absolute most out of every single one of your interviews. And it's absolutely free. I hope you found this video series about author interviews really helpful. Please give the videos in the series a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't yet. It really encourages me to keep making free videos and printables for you just like this one. Here's to a wonderful interview experience. Bye!